right, so I've got a couple stubs made up. Started at 960 and ended up at like 965. So this one fits well, but it's just a touch on the loose side. And this one fits well, but it's a touch on the tight side. So with this information, I can kind of interpolate and adjust as needed when we are machining the actual barrel. So we're ready for that. So next step is going to be, we need to make that recoil lug now a little bit larger than these. So we're going to go like 975 on that recoil lug diameter, so that will fit over the new barrel. So we'll go ahead and machine that, get the recoil lug opened up to the new major diameter, or more than that obviously, but we'll get that. We got our numbers now for major diameter, thread tenon length. We know our TPI is 20. That did not change, will not change. And of course, now we know what our headspace protrusion will be based off of the new, well, diameter doesn't have anything to do with it, but based off the length of the thread tenon and the location of the bolt, we can get that match grade, nice tight headspace chamber. Right, so we'll get into that. Okay, we've got all of our calculations calculated, numbers and stuff like that. I just spoke with the customer, Mr. Zach. I was asking him how long of a barrel he wants. We're going to go 26 inches. I always say go as long as we can put up with. So the barrel unfinished state is 27, so we'll be cutting off an inch there, a little less than an inch to make it 26. I've already faced off the stub, and that is back in his goodie bag for him to keep. The stub of the barrel has the manufacturer, serial number, twist rate, rifling, all that pertinent information, so I always slice that off real thin and send that back with the rifle. That way the customer has a record, kind of a receipt of the barrel. In the very rare event that something might be wrong with it, at least we can prove that, go back to the maker and, you know, that kind of good stuff. So that's all done. I pulled it back out just to make sure it would fit in the stock. Because the stock is designed and made for a factory barrel, this is obviously a lot bigger than you get on a hunting A-bolt rifle. I don't know what the original barrel was, but it certainly isn't this thick. This is a varmint, Sendero varmint contour. It will fit in the stock, no problem. Well, I do have to inlet it. The stock's way too skinny, but there's plenty of material on the stock, so I just got to carve out for the barrel channel here. That'll come later. The first thing we got to do, though, is make this barrel a little bit skinnier in diameter, because the little recoil lug they got with it is kind of tapered down like that, so it's not going to look very good at the 1.25 that it's sitting at right now. So what we got to do, and this was a benefit of the stub that I made, is we got to cut this down to 1.180, or a little bit bigger, maybe 85, so that it has a nice transition there. It looks virtually seamless. I mean, you're going to see that seam there, the little torque shoulder, but that's whatever. Oops, what am I doing here? This is how it would go. Right, so this one's already been turned to the 1.185, like, well, 80, something like that. Somewhere in there. So anyway, first step in this process is going to be getting this in there kind of sticking out long enough so I can machine this whole shank down to that 1.185, I guess I'm going to make it. So we'll do that. It'll be held by a live center here, and then a forge-out chuck will be grabbing this section just to make sure there's, just to reduce chatter and make the finish nice. And then we'll have to reconfigure, probably choke it up in the chuck. Depending on, not entirely sure how I'm going to hold the barrel for the actual machining of the thread tenon and the chambering and everything like that, but we'll figure that out next. But the first thing I got to do now is turn that down to the proper diameter. So we're taking off 70 thousandths or so, 65 to 70 thousandths. All right, so we'll get that done here and be back for the next step. We got the shank there turned down to the proper 1.185 diameter for the Browning A-bolt action. And yeah, so that's done. Now we have it installed in our forge-out chuck here with, I'm using the barrel extension method on this job. So at the very end, in the tail, at the end of the spindle is a barrel extension holding the actual barrel. So it's kind of just obviously an extension of the barrel. That will give us a proper way to actually articulate and axially align this barrel in the lathe. And so this is part of our premium barrel chambering service here, which involves aligning. So we're not really centering. We are centering the barrel, but it's more of an alignment to the curvature of the bore and to the actual chamber itself. So this is going to be a 25-06 Remington. So here's a 30-06. I don't have any 25-06 right now, but so the cartridge is going to sit in the barrel's chamber right about here. So it'll have about 141 thousandths sticking out the back, like that, for the extractor to be able to grab onto it, and for our calculated headspace. So that means the neck, throat, neck junction area is right here. So that's why we're grabbing it right here, because that is the pivot point for the barrel. That's where this thing, we're going to align it. So the forge-out chuck up front here is going to act as our centering. So that's going to get the bore centered in this, right here in this section. And then back here will be adjusted in the back by the spider. So there's four opposing screws, just like the forge-out chuck here. So aligning the back of the barrel will allow us to articulate the axial axis of the spinning barrel. So we'll be able to get that guy running perfectly straight and true from here to the throat area. And then, like you may have seen in the other videos, that gives us the ability to clock the barrel, because the barrel is going to be kind of cattywampus at the back end. So that will allow us to find the high side of the barrel and give us the ability to clock the receiver so that the bullet exits the muzzle at the high side. Pretty good way of doing things. So we're just going to go back and forth. I got my long reach indicator in there. See that? So this too is allowing us to actually indicate right here. So I'm going to start here at the throat area and use our forge-out chuck to get that guy running as true as we can here. And you can see we're fairly close, within, what do we got? I don't know, 5, 10, but obviously with a long reach probe on that, that's kind of skewing our readout here, so that's actually not as fine as half thousandths as it would be with a real short stubby indicator on there. But at least we have a way to get as close as we possibly can. Okay, so with this, we're going to go to the high side, which is right about there. I'm going to tighten the jaw we're just going to move that indicator down and just go get that section running as true as we can. There's low, there's high, high. I'm not cranking down tight yet. So that's close enough for now. Let's check this side here, and we'll use that back end spider to adjust this puppy in here. So now opposite, we're going to go to the high side. Low, high. We're going to adjust these guys back here. High, there. And so to do this properly, we're going to have to switch over to a 10,000ths indicator because this is just too broad, too coarse of a readout here. But we can at least get it close with this one and then switch over. So we got the 1/10 Mar Pupitas indicator in there showing very, very little run out. Actually, I just came back from lunch and I see it's out just a couple tenths there, so we can correct for that. A little more. Find the low side right there. Adjust those screws. And there you go. Zero run out there. See if I can't. There we go. Zero. See? See, it says zero now. Haha. Well, what we're looking for is that needle to go settle down into the same spot. Okay, and then come on into the throat area. And this too has settled a little bit, so let me just adjust. There you go. Now we are settled out. Oops. Get back in that bore. There is the entrance to the bore. All the way into the throat area. Free bore, neck, throat. And we're good. So there you go. This barrel's ready for some machining. All right, we're ready to start machining this barrel. The first diameter is going to have to be to give the recoil lug here a happy place to sit without too much looseness. So our major diameter is 962. I wanted to make this a little bit on the big side. So we were shooting for 985. So that's going to give us our little bit of a shoulder for this to sit on, and not be all loose. Same concept I do with Remingtons and stuff like that. That way I can cut this for a perfect fit, so there's not it's not too loose, not too tight. Then I'll drop it in the chip pan, and then after that's cut, right around here, we can focus on the actual major diameter of the thread. I'm going to face this off flat to the new alignment of the barrel. One more little finishing pass here. tidy. And give us a place to stop short. This will give us a place to stop shy of our overall stopping point for the index of the receiver to the high side of the barrel. So stop right there, and then proceed to turn this down to 985. And of course, since we got so much sticking out there, we got some chatter we're inducing, so I might get this live center up into place here. In fact, I will. Just wait for this to pass. But we don't want that kind of chatter going on. It's no good. What I'm going to do is cut a little bit of a chamfer for our live center to ride on. Alright, so that'll give it a little bit more bearing surface area for that center to ride on. Rather than just a sharp corner. So something like that. So that gives that center a little bit of a, like I said, more surface area. Get that up, give it a little tension. And now we can machine the surface without chatter, hopefully. Reducing it. Yeah, that's much better. Much better. So this is all turning aligned, so I'm not worried about forcing it out of alignment or anything like that. Take a quick measurement. I'm sure we're not there yet, but just want to make sure. So yeah, we're way 1.150. And we wanted 985 for the recoil lug. So yeah, we got a ways to go here. I'm not going to hog this off quickly because this is precision machining. So that's why we're not getting a chip break right now in those stringers. But yeah, no reason to go crazy here. Get the heck out of the way. In case that wants to spin. I hate those. Razor wire, essentially. Okay, got the recoil lug fit on there. With pretty much perfect fit. It is a little bit, as you can see, it's not loose. So, and it matches that diameter real nice, so that transition right there. Now we have, we have to turn this the rest of the way down for the major diameter of the thread tenon. So we're going to mark with a very skinny point pencil, which will tell us where to stop. Now we'll have to, so I'm turning this shy of our overall end final length. So let's get this out of the way. So where I made my pencil line, I'm gonna cut back behind that maybe 50 thousandths or so, because this surface here is gonna have to be walked back when we finally get to our top dead center, where we want the top dead center of that action to spin on. So I'm actually gonna cut in a little bit past this line and then set a 0 for a stop. That way we don't run into any troubles running out of threads for that receiver to screw into. Ask me how I know that. All right, so we'll be doing that, and next we're gonna finish off our major diameter for that second portion. So this is all gonna be left alone, and then this will be turned down to that the 962 diameter. All right, set up for threading now. So I'm gonna take our first scratch pass. Just touch off. 20 threads per inch. Right up to that shoulder. Mini shoulder. And we're looking for 20 treads per inch. And that's what we got. Threads per inch. So we'll just proceed to thread this till that receiver screws on. Looking for a double depth of 32.5 thousandths. To 30. Do one more pass here and check things. All right. Stop the machine. We'll do a test fit here, see if it fits. Grab our receiver. So she's starting on, but not wait there yet. I did leave the major just a tad high so that we can kind of fine tune it, maybe file it in if we have to. So now I've got the barrel. This is the high side and the back side. And now that receiver is clocked right there to the high side. So this is as tight as I can get it by hand, and we got just a little bit of fudge room for the torque room. Generally, it's going to go on maybe a 1/16 of an inch in terms of turning after the 100 foot-pounds is applied. So all that's done. We're ready for chamber work now. We're still spinning true. I had to adjust nothing. So I'm back in there with 1/10 indicator, and we are still spinning perfectly true from the breech entrance all the way to the throat. So how you like that? Everything stayed where it was for every single operation so far. I didn't have to change anything. Nothing slipped, nothing moved. So good to go here. Yeah, don't get no better than that. Love it. All right, so now we got some drilling. I'm going to pre-drill this chamber. Pre-drill, then we're going to go into the boring bar, clean up the drill hole just a little bit, And then finally we'll do the finishing reaming operation. So I'll probably zoom up, put the camera up a little higher so you can see what's going on, and we'll proceed to do that. Put that up. 1, 2, 3. That should be enough. It was very important to have engagement with the pilot. So right there is where the pilot's engaging the bore, and we are still not cutting, so that's perfect. Always check this to make sure we don't need to drill any deeper. So what this is going to do is clean up the drill hole, because drill is a very efficient way of removing material, but leaves a very rough surface finish and hole. And we certainly don't want to get the chambering reamer in there and start cutting off of a very rough surface like that. So we are going to essentially true that up with a precision boring bar such as this. Find the end of my hole right there. Kick it on, and we're going to pour this out. Get my feed rate set proper. Slow feed, shallow depth of cut. Turn that speed up. Okay, so let's begin chambering this barrel. And as we approach and start cutting, I'm feeling there, we're starting to cut. Got a little high-end chatter going on. That's pretty normal. No decipherable chatter here feeling the reamer holder. Okay, so we're getting a good chip load. It's like all the flutes are cutting equally. Okay, there's a couple pass. So yeah, looks good. Getting a little high frequency chatter, but that's fairly normal when you start in the very start of the chamber. But yeah, again, everything's looking good. I've got no, feels very smooth, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So we'll check for run out and all that good stuff. But it's basically rinse and repeat until we get to depth, so we'll be back with a headspace check later on. All right, so we're about a quarter of the way into the chamber with the finishing reamer, and here's where I start checking stuff. So we're off the barrel, or off the chamber. We're going to come in there, and so there's just a little bit into the mouth of the breech. And we're looking dang good there. No run out. just the very tiniest amount of chatter. I don't even know if you can see that. It's not, I don't want to say chatter, it's just the machine, the gears, everything kind of, you know, there's no perceivable vibration, but there's going to be on a super sensitive dial test indicator like this. So we'll come on in, a little bit further in. That's about as far as I can go there. But same thing, we're not seeing that needle doing anything like that. It's just following the taper up, that's all it's doing. But we got 0 run out there. Whoops. So that's as far in as I can go. Just get into the coincidence of the radius there. But yeah, like I said, there's, you know, high, low, hot, or low, high. And we are running dead true, guys, and look, ladies and gentlemen. So this is what I do periodically throughout the chambering process, just to make sure nothing's moving on us, or we are maintaining our alignment and our 0 run out throughout the entire process of the chamber. So like I said, we'll just keep going here. I'll get about halfway in, check again. And right before we're done, check again, make sure there's no run out going on. So it's part of the game. Everything's looking great here. Okay, we're a bit past halfway. Just a little bit past halfway. Everything's going great. Reamer's cutting like a dream. Very smooth, nice, good chips coming off. Okay, we are past our bored hole now. So we've got a full engagement with the reamer there. So I'm only getting about 30 to 40 thousandths of a cut per pass now. Because the last thing you want is the chips to overload. The reamer. And what tends to happen is the reamer will get packed so full of chips that they'll start scouring the chamber walls because there's just nowhere for them to go. And we're talking steel on steel here, you know, so it's just not a good situation to be in. So this takes some time. Precision work is never fast anyway, so it's not, I'm not complaining at all. It's just that, you know, I don't have a flush system here, flush all that coolant out, or I don't really even use coolant here, is what I'm trying to say. But we're going to do a check here. So we are, I'll just go in deep to the chamber there. And so I'm going to preload the needle. Let's go right to 0. Hey, hit it. And as you can see, there is nothing, no run out whatsoever throughout this process. So it's following the taper up and then down. And really, I mean, I could check deeper in there with that same long reach indicator that you saw, but the thing is that it throws the sensitivity off. And if there was any run out, it would be detectable anywhere in the chamber, like right now, because the pilot would be following any kind of. So anyway, I mean, I'm pushing up slightly on the indicator and then pushing down, so you know there's no trickery here. That's all true reading off the chamber that we're cutting, right? So we're looking good, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just press on here. So I just thought I'd give you a little update here. Everything's going great. This 25-06 Remington chamber is as good as it gets. So forgive the shoddy sound quality, but yeah, it's getting late. I need to finish this up. So in in the chamber there. So I've just done my last pass with the finishing reamer to headspace, and in the chamber there is a headspace gauge with a piece of tape on the back, cellophane tape, and it is not closing. I could force it down, but it's not closing freely. Little piece of tape on the back, representing about 2/1000 of an inch. And get all that off of there. And then the go gauge in the chamber. Falls free on its own. So this chamber is within perfect headspace now. It is aligned to the top, or the high side of the barrel. I would say top, I don't know why I didn't say that. But then we'll do a quick little run out check here at the end and make sure that's good. Okay, let's see what we got here. In terms of run out on the final chamber. Look at that. Look at that, guys and gals. We got a perfect chamber here. Absolutely nothing. No run out at all. Go to a different place on the needle. And yeah, now that the motor's not running, you can see there's none of that very, very slight chatter. I didn't mean chatter as in reamer chatter. I meant just chatter in general. But I mean, that is the smoothest there's nothing in there. No run out whatsoever. Perfect match grade. Perfect match grade tight headspace chamber. So when this thing is torqued in, 100 foot-pounds of torque, essentially, is what I usually do. That is going to be, it doesn't get any better than that, like I keep saying, but anyway. Just want to show, you know, we don't cut corners here. We do grade A, match grade work for our customers. So, you know, if your gunsmith is backed up for a year, and you don't want to wait that long, I hope I'm showing you I can provide you with just as good results here. Obviously the proof's in the pudding when you start shooting it and all that stuff, but at least the machine work, you know, is done proper here. So all that we got left on this one is we're going to chamfer the mouth of that chamber, so just break that sharp edge and then polish the chamber. And this puppy's done. So thanks for hanging out with me. This video is certainly not done yet, but the breech work is. So we've got a brand new 25-06 Remington is born, and we are loving life here in the shop. So life's good. Take care. And there it is before I pull it out of the machine. Nicely polished. Everything turned out just great. Got the bling factor going on. So anyway, yeah, another successful chambering job. So that's all done. We'll get it torqued on, do a test fire like we always do. Make sure all that stuff's good, measure the case. And then it'll be on to muzzle work. So we got some special treats in store for you for that. Should be some interesting stuff, so stay tuned for that. We'll be back. Looks like we got some visitors passing through. Some does and their youngins. There's a buck up there by the barn. Oh, there he is. Sorry, I can't go outside to spook them away. There's 2 bucks. So we got 2 bucks, 2 young bucks, and some whole bunch of does. And there's a couple babies. There's the baby at the back. So just thought it'd be neat to show that. This is a pretty common occurrence here at on our property. They wander through here on the daily mostly, but it's not every day you see them. Oops, somebody's taking a poop. So, yep, just thought I'd take a moment and take a little break, watch the deers roam through. Life is good.